everyone, and welcome to another episode of Trendy with Kim Allison. And today I have joining me somebody different than normal because she is a former hairdresser, but now a content creator on TikTok, killing it, by the way, which is how she caught my attention. Her name is Carly Nelson, someone whose journey with hair loss led her down an unexpected path to discovery and growth. Literally, you guys. So let's dive into the art of hair oiling and hear her story, you guys. Carly, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited. You were an exciting yes, and I overused the word excited, and I don't care because I am. But yes, as we spoke on off camera, I've been struggling with my own hair journey, going through menopause, and I know there's a deep dive holistically because menopause honestly is only 15 minutes long. It's what we don't do after it, where we start to kind of I don't know, we lose sight of how much power we have in our own bodies to heal ourselves, if that makes any sense.
It absolutely makes sense. Yes.
Yeah, so with hair oiling, it's huge. It's all botana oil. I even have some myself. Thank God, after watching your videos, I said, "Whoo, I flipped that bottle over so quick. Let me see how many ingredients this thing has." And I saw one ingredient. I'm like, "Oh, thank the Lord." Carly, can you share your personal journey with hair loss and what led you to discovering hair oil?
Yeah, of course. So I feel like it's kind of a two-part story for me. I think a lot of people have a black and white transformation. For me, I went through a long journey in a lot of different parts. So, first and foremost, Spark Note version, I started as a hairstylist. If you're a hairstylist, you know that you are always trying the new trends before putting them on your clients. So, you're doing the fashion colors, you're doing the new balayage, you're doing the new foils, you're trying everything. So, I was bleaching my hair 3 to 4 times a week. And my hair was trashed. It was so short. It was bleached. It was terrible. And luckily, I had extensions to hide it. So I was doing all sorts of extensions, hand tied, clip ins, tape in extensions. I've done it all. And I just remember always being mortified looking in the mirror after taking my extensions out. I was so scared. I almost wanted to have my stylist flip me the other way. And after I decided that I didn't want to do hair behind the chair anymore and I wanted to kind of shift directions into marketing for beauty brands and using my knowledge and my education in a different way, I decided to be my own advocate for my hair. I was like, you know what? I want to take my followers through a journey of my own transformation. It's one thing to show other people's, but I want to show them mine. So I decided that I was going to take out my extensions, start from scratch, use only natural holistic hair care, single ingredient oils. And within a few months, I started noticing such a huge difference in my hair. It started completely transforming. I stopped bleaching it. I had so much shine, so much volume. I was starting to get my confidence back with my hair. And then I got pregnant, and all the mamas know, prenatal vitamins, they're no joke. Okay. So my hair was thriving during my pregnancy and a few months after. But as soon as that postpartum hit, I was losing clumps of hair. When I tell you, handfuls in the shower, it was petrifying. And it kind of gave me that PTSD and took me back to the bleached hair days. And I was like, no, I worked so hard to get out of this. But that's when I really started discovering the importance of hair oil and how important it is to not neglect your scalp, take care of your hair follicles, use ingredients without fillers, without silicones, things that were really going to add the nutrients back into your follicles and into your scalp, which is where your hair growth obviously stems from. And so I kind of, when I was bleaching it and starting that journey, I had to really focus on, the health of my hair and making my ends healthy again. And then when I was postpartum, I had to really focus on scalp health. So it was sort of a two-part thing for me, but it brought me to the same resolution.
Oh my gosh, and your hair is gorgeous.
Thank you.
So good on you. I love it. That is huge. And you went on that journey all on your own, which is, it's That is so, what's the word I'm looking for? Most people look for outside sources to solve their problems. Very few look from within. I
Mhm.
mean, even that, what you just described, you took the reins, you took it, you were your own hair advocate, which we all should be for our health, our hair, everything, because it's all one thing, right?
Mhm.
And so, as hairdressers, we're expected to, behind the chair, come up with all the answers. Like, if the hair is shedding, fix it. What can I take? What can I
Mhm.
use? What, it's like, well, it starts from within, it starts inside of you. And then once the hair is out of your scalp, healthy, to be, or something that we could do topically that will fix it, then we can
Yeah.
help you. When you first started using the hair oil, Carly, did you notice immediate results or was it a gradual process?
Yeah, so with anything, I always tell people a good thing takes time. Anything that you notice an overnight difference with, it's probably not going to last. So with hair oiling, I always say it's pretty much stitching up something that you've been putting band-aids on for years, right? You're actually addressing the root cause of the problem and you're healing it. And so to answer your question, with hair growth, it took me about 3 months to really start noticing that part of it. But as far as shine, health, manageability, I started noticing that within the first few weeks of using the product, but it gets better with time. It's something that if you're really committed to your hair transformation, you have to commit to the process of getting there. And so you will not notice overnight results. And I don't like to tell people that you will, because you won't, but you will notice consistent, long-term, permanent results. And to me, that was the most important part.
Yes, well said. I love that. So let's get into some of your videos that caught my attention, and then I can bring everybody else up to speed and just with your wealth of knowledge in hair oiling and just some of the they're so valuable, all of your posts.
Thank you.
So let's go.
Give me a follow because I post daily hair growth tips and I don't want you to miss out. Number one, you have to stop just accepting that genetics is the reason why you have bad hair. Genetics plays a role, but it is not the only role. If that was the case, my hair would look exactly like my mother, and here's my mother's hair. The cool thing about hair and pretty much anything beauty related is you can always enhance something if you don't like it. Just like going to the gym. You could already have a great body, but going to the gym is only going to make it better. You could have shitty hair and it might not be Kim Kardashian hair when you start to take care of it, but it will at least be better than where you started. Number two, you have to understand that dry hair is brittle hair and brittle hair is broken hair. I will say that until the end of time. If your hair is dry, it is prone to break it. So if you want to experience a hair growth transformation like this, you have to make sure that you avoid dry hair at all costs. Hair grows from up here, but if you are not taking care of your ends down here, meaning you're not keeping them hydrated and moisturized, all of this is going to snap off before you even notice the hair growth happening up here. So the key to avoiding dry hair and broken hair at all costs is hair oiling. The key is to find an oil with a really tiny molecular makeup that's able to penetrate all 3 layers of your hair strand. Yes, your hair strand has 3 layers: your cuticle, your cortex, and your boudoir. Any dryness, any damage, any breakage, that is living in the 2nd and 3rd layer of your hair strand. So if you are using an oil with a large molecular makeup, when you look at it underneath a microscope, and it is unable to penetrate past your 1st layer, your cuticle, that oil is going to create a layer of buildup on your hair strand, leaving it heavy, leaving it greasy, leaving it oily. And on top of that, your dryness, your damage, your frizz, none of this is being addressed because that oil can't even penetrate as far as those things are living. So you need to find an oil that's able to penetrate that far. So a lot of the oils you're using, like the store-bought oil, Miele is a really popular one, even Olaplex, there's so many ingredients in these oils. If you look at the back of the product, for example, like this, and you see the ingredient and it looks like a recipe, it's probably not doing what it says it's going to do because it has 10,000 ingredients and half of the ingredients aren't even oil. So how are you going to call yourself a hair oil when half your ingredients aren't oil? Confused. So once I started switching to oils that only had one ingredient, oil, botana oil, apricot oil, my hair started thriving. My all-time favorite oil right now is botana oil. You've probably seen this because it's viral and trending on TikTok for a good reason. It has been used for centuries by so many cultures for hair loss conditions like alopecia. It's known to help scalp conditions. It's known to help protect your hair color from fade. Literally, the benefits are absolutely endless. This one is unscented and it's cold pressed. Cold pressed oils are actually better because they aren't exposed to high temperature. When you're using a hot pressed oil like the brown botana oil that you've seen all over TikTok, the high temperatures it's exposed to extract the oil is actually removing all of the benefits and the good things from the oil. Kind of like how when you boil something, you're killing the bacteria and the bad stuff in it. Same process when you're extracting oils. So with a cold pressed oil like this one, you're getting all the nutrients, benefits, vitamins that Botana oil has to offer. You're not getting the diluted version. Tip number 3, you need to understand your hair process. I went way too long not understanding hair process. Your hair process is your hair's ability to retain moisture. This is going to tell you what shampoo to use, what conditioner, what styling products to use. So many of us don't understand our hair process and we're using all the wrong products, and that's why they're not working for us. So my best advice for healing your hair: number 1, start investing into a good oil like Botana oil. And number 2, figure out your hair process so you can use products that work so you actually see a transformation. Give me a follow because I post daily hair girl tips and I don't want you to miss out, and comment below what questions you have.
So Carly, can you talk a little bit about that? Like, for example, for those, this platform is for the next generation of hair, new hairdressers, or just hair enthusiasts. For somebody that might be watching, can you break down porosity and just the importance of sealing those cuticles?
Yeah, of course. So your hair porosity is your hair's ability to retain moisture. So if you were to look at your hair strands underneath the microscope, you will see 3 layers: your cuticle, your medulla, and your cortex. And so your cuticle is the outermost protective layer. And if you have high porosity, your cuticles are wide open. If you have low porosity, your cuticles are shut. And if you have medium, you have the same amount of open cuticles and the same amount of closed cuticles. This matters because if you think about it, if you are putting, let's say, an oil into your hair and you have high porosity hair and your cuticles are wide open, that oil is going to penetrate right within your hair strand, but then it's going to leave because nothing is sealing the cuticle. So you're getting the moisture and then it's getting sucked back out. And that's why your hair is still dry, still brittle, still frizzy. Now, if you have low porosity hair, your cuticles are shut. So if you're using heavy oils, these oils cannot go past your cuticle. And so they're just sitting literally surface level on your hair strand, and they're not addressing any of the second and third layer of your hair strands, which is actually, ironically, where any dryness, any damage, any frizz is living. So you can imagine if you have low porosity hair, with time, all of that oil, all of those products, they're creating a layer of buildup over your hair strand. And that's why your hair is dry. It's not manageable. Your hair won't hold a curl. And so by using the correct products based on your hair porosity, specific ingredients, specific oils, you will address this concern. And one thing that a lot of people ask me, your hair porosity can change. So whether you're bleaching your hair, dyeing your hair, taking care of it properly, you can always change your hair porosity. It takes time, but it's not permanent. So the ideal porosity to have is medium porosity. You want the same amount of open cuticles, the same amount of closed, so that it's balanced. So you can change your hair porosity by properly taking care of your hair, using the right oils, using the right nutrients, and making sure that you're understanding what ingredients to actually look for instead of just, buying whatever is trending, or going to Ulta and buying whatever, going to the salon and buying what your hairstylist recommends. So really understanding your hair porosity is going to tell you exactly how to take care of it. And it's going to kind of take out the guessing work and also save you a lot of money because you're not going to be buying things that aren't working for you.
Oh, yeah. Great explanation. And I learned something too right there. I mean, or just reminded of something. Would you talk a little bit about the molecular?
Yeah.
My enunciation, I swear. Molecular, the molecules that are too big, to break through. You touched on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the molecular makeup of a product is so important because if a product has really large molecules, so if it has specific fillers, specific silicones, if you're looking at ingredients with tons of different oils, like jojoba oil, for example, castor oil, these oils have really large molecules. And so when you're looking at your hair strand underneath the microscope and you're looking at these products underneath the microscope, if it has a really large molecular makeup, it is not going to penetrate past that first layer, that cuticle, regardless of your hair porosity. And so when you're using products with silicones, when you're using products with these fillers, these products are not doing anything for you. And I always like to say they're putting a Band-Aid over something that needs stitches because they're literally temporarily sealing your hair. That's why sometimes when you use, a specific conditioner, a specific leave-in product, a specific oil, temporarily your hair will look less frizzy. It will feel softer. But then you'll notice in a few months that you have the same issues that you started with because because it's such a temporary fix. And so that's why sometimes in the hair world and on TikTok, you'll hear people say, they'll almost encourage you to use silicones because they're like, oh, well, silicones seal the hair. Yes, they do, but they don't actually penetrate to where that dryness, that frizz, that damage is living. And so that's why I say, it's a Band-Aid, it's a temporary fix. And so if you're really looking for a long-term transformation, you need to look for products that will that will permanently heal your hair, not just give you a quick fix.
Gosh, absolutely. I mean, can you hear that, people in the back? That is valuable information. And again, something that either you don't know or that you need to be reminded of. Because we do get caught up in the trends, and we do get caught up in the latest viral product. And also I've noticed that just as quickly as products come on the scene, they can get canceled and be just carted off the scene just like that, like Miel has, and thankfully it's not the creator of Miel. It's because she sold it. So, good on her for creating something beautiful and selling it and getting out of there before the heat. Because I'm sure the heat came after she sold it.
Yeah, 100%. Yes.
Because bottom lines and acquisitions, they have to, cheapen some things, leave out some things, add some things, So Carly, let's talk about let me do this differently. Carly, for those new to using hair oil, could you explain how it stimulates the follicle? Just the opening.
Yeah, absolutely. So essentially what a hair oil is going to do is it's going to add specific nutrients, vitamins, minerals directly to your hair follicles. But what's really important to understand, and I think this is the biggest mistake people make when hair oiling, they only massage their scalp after applying the oil. And so throughout the day, throughout the week, your scalp accumulates dead skin cells, sweat glands, dirt, debris, environmental factors, product buildup. And so an oil is a sealant. And so if you're applying oil directly to your scalp without first removing those debris, those dead skin cells, you're literally locking in buildup into your hair follicle. So if you want your hair follicles to receive the nutrients, the vitamins, the minerals, you need to first remove that debris. And you're going to do that by massaging your scalp for 2 to 3 minutes before applying the oil. This is going to bring blood flow to your follicles so they can be receptive of the vitamins you're about to apply. And it's also going to remove any microscopic buildup that's clogging your follicles. And then you're going to go in and you're going to apply the oil. And so when you're massaging the oil afterwards, you're really just spreading the product and making sure you didn't miss any areas. The most crucial step to hair oiling is first removing any buildup so that your follicles can receive the vitamins. And so it's not the oil itself that allows your scalp to receive the vitamins. It's more just adding those vitamins directly to your follicles versus if you're just putting it on your ends, it's not going to transfer up to your follicles. So I think that's like the most crucial step of hair oiling that nobody talks about.
Oh, yes, exactly. And also I mean, me myself, when I put oil on, I just put it on top. And now I know there are scalp massagers out there. That is a real thing. And now I've even seen devices that are scalp massagers where you can put the oil in the device and then it secretes to your hair. How do you feel about those types of devices?
Yeah, so I think anything to make your life easier, great. But again, if you're using just that device and you're not massaging first, like you can't apply oil and massage at the same time. So you have to massage first, apply the oil, and then massage after, as far as, removing buildup goes. So if you haven't done the buildup removal part, you don't want to go ahead and apply the oil. And I think that's like the biggest thing, and a good point to touch on too, is so many products trend on Amazon and TikTok shop, and people are like, oh, this is going to make my life easier. Great. But they don't understand why they're even using it or what it's even going to do. They just look for convenience. And so that's why it's so important to actually understand your hair, understand how, hair growth works and these things so that you can use things that are actually going to help you. And again, to my point I made earlier, stop wasting money on things that you're not even understanding. You know what I mean? So tools like that are great, but you want to make sure you're still manually removing buildup first before using a tool like that.
And to remind everybody, you said earlier that can be used, you can use your fingers to manipulate, or you can use a scalp massager, the little brush
Yes.
prongy thing. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do
Yes.
you have
Just
a
make sure that
favorite?
it's clean.
Do
I
you
think
have a favorite scalp massager brush?
so. I actually like the silicone ones because I think that they're more gentle on your scalp. I've seen like the hair comb ones and the ones that are metal and things like that. I think sometimes that can actually damage your scalp if you're using it too rough. And I think sometimes if you don't have a background in hair and you're just like applying something to your head, you're not necessarily doing it gentle. You're just kind of doing it really quickly. And so I prefer the silicone brushes. I don't honestly, either way, as long as you're massaging, it's going to work. It doesn't matter if you use a scalp brush or your fingers, but either way, you want to make sure that either your fingers are clean or the scalp brush is clean. So what I do is I keep my scalp brush like in the shower with me, and I'll just wash it with like shampoo, when I wash my hair, to make sure I'm always using a clean product.
And you're doing this how often?
I do it every time I wash my hair. So however you wash your hair, however often, do it then. And so I think that's a lot of a common question that people have too, is they ask, like, how often should I be washing my hair? Honestly, you should wash your hair the second your scalp feels dirty, because the second your scalp is dirty, it's accumulating buildup, it's accumulating sweat, it's doing these things, and it's not going to do anything good for your hair by letting that stuff sit on your scalp. And so for me personally, I wash my hair 1 to 2 times a week. But my advice for the people listening, wash your hair as soon as it feels dirty. Don't wait. That's such a myth.
And those receptors that our body gives us to tell us our hair is dirty is, for one, itchy,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
When it starts to feel, because there may be somebody out there that says, well, I don't know how to, because I've had people ask me this before behind the chair. How do I know that my hair is dirty? How do I know how often to wash my hair? Is it once
Mm-hmm.
a week? Some, as especially for Black women, it's once every 2 weeks, which
Mm-hmm.
we were raised that way. Although now I think we're changing our tune. It seems a little ridiculous to go 2 weeks without washing your hair,
Mm-hmm.
but our hair dries out so quickly. But again, I think this modality, this hair oiling technique, is also going to help mitigate that as well.
Exactly, because I think that's a really big thing. People think like, well, if I wash my hair is going to be dried out. It's not going to be as shiny. It's not going to be as soft. But the thing is as long as you're adding the moisturizers, as long as you're adding the correct nutrients to your hair, you won't have the problem. The reason why your hair is drying out is because you're literally stripping away your hair's natural oils. And so by adding back in oils that are essentially mimicking your body's natural oils, you're going to notice a difference in the shine, the manageability, the softness, and all of those things.
Love it. And two, it takes me back to being a little Black girl, and our parents oiled our scalps.
Mm-hmm.
That was a part of the week. At least once a week, you sat and part by part oil, solidified oil, not in a dropper, but still, yeah, we had it right, kind of, except the manipulation part prior to the oiling. Can hair oil use be combined with other treatments, or are there any products that should be avoided?
Yeah, so I would say if you are using your hair oil, so I talk about using it 3 different ways on my channel a lot: as a pre-shampoo treatment, as a scalp oil, and as an everyday oil. If you're using it as an everyday oil, you want to make sure it's the last product you put on, because again, it's a sealant. So you don't want to be piling in all these products on top of it if you want it to work the way that it's supposed to. And also, you don't want to be applying heat after you put the oil on your hair, because you're essentially frying your hair then. If you think about putting oil in like a pan and the pan is hot, you're frying the oil, right? That's how food is fried. Same thing with your hair. So your oil should be the last thing you put on your hair. It should be your finishing product. Style your hair, do everything, then put the oil on. And then a follow-up, kind of point to that is banana oil will take about 20 to 30 minutes to penetrate to your hair strands. So you could sleep on it and then the next day use heat on your hair. But that same, time that you're styling your hair, I would definitely not put heat on it right after. if you're using the oil as a pre-shampoo treatment and a scalp oil, you're totally okay to wash your hair like usual, use a hair mask, style your hair, use treatment products, because again, that oil is going to penetrate, and you're doing it before you're washing your hair. So you're applying it, you're shampooing, you're conditioning, you're hair masking. So it's totally fine to, apply products afterwards. But as far as during the pre-shampoo treatment, I typically like to, again, stick to single ingredient oil. So if I'm using botana oil, I'm not going to then put another product that has 20 ingredients over the botana oil.
Yeah, makes sense. And are there certain oils that are better for hair growth than others? Because I know botana oil, rosemary oil. What other ones would you recommend?
Yeah, so I would say apricot oil is another one that a lot of people don't talk about, that has a really small molecular makeup the same way that botana oil does. Rosemary oil, of course, is great for hair growth. The biggest thing that I look for is I want to make sure I can put the oil on my ends too. I just think it makes it easier. A lot of oils, like peppermint oil is a good example of that. That's going to dry out your ends. So if you're putting peppermint oil on your scalp, and I think that's why Miel had some issues, if you're putting peppermint oil on your scalp and then putting it through your ends, it's not going to do much for your ends. So if you're really trying to kind of kill two birds with one stone, address scalp health and end health, use oils that can be used for both. And so apricot oil, botana oil, those are great examples of oils that can.
Why does peppermint oil dry out the scalp? What's the theory behind that?
So it doesn't dry out the scalp.
The scalp, the ends. That's what I meant. The ends.
That's okay. So I think with peppermint oil, the mint in it is just a little bit drying. If you think about mint in general, it's kind of like a cleansing agent. So I believe that it strips the natural oils of your hair kind of, not necessarily right away, but with time. If you're continuously using it, I just think it doesn't have as many antioxidants, as many vitamins, nutrients that the other oils do.
That makes sense. I receive that.
Yeah.
That made perfect sense. What advice, Carly, would you give to a hairdresser just starting out who wants to recommend hair oil to their clients?
So I think educate yourself so you can educate your clients. I think a lot of hairstylists are very surface level. Like, we soak in a lot of information in beauty school, and then it's kind of in one ear, out the other. Go back to the basics, really learn about hair porosity, learn about molecular makeup, learn about, the makeup of a hair strand. So you can explain that to your clients, because the best way to sell a product and to really give value to somebody is to educate them. And so make sure that you're talking to your clients when you're behind the chair. Let them know, hey, I recommend this oil because of the molecular makeup. The molecular makeup matters because hair porosity. This is what hair porosity is. All of this information, I can promise 90% of your clients have never heard it before. So they're going to rebook. They're going to rebook with you. They're going to trust you, and they're going to buy your product. So I think it's just a win-win to educate them.
Oh, yeah. Great answer. How do you discuss realistic expectations with clients who are hoping for faster hair growth results? What's the best way? Because what happens is, just like your account, it trends. You have a lot of followers, and they're like, oh my gosh, look at her transformation. I can do it too. Let me buy all the things, and then from there, it all goes awry. And we're like, well, that didn't work. So what do you recommend for people who just want to get there really fast and they don't necessarily have realistic expectations?
So I would just be honest with them. I would say, listen, are you looking for a natural hair transformation? Or are you looking for a hair transformation that you can pay for? Because if you want a transformation in a week, then we're going to get you some extensions. If you want long-term results, then this is what you're going to do. So I think just being honest with them and being like, listen, I'm not going to lie to you. What is realistic for you? What are you looking for? And that could potentially be an upsell for you for extensions, or you're going to have a lifelong client because they're really going to trust you because you're not lying to them. And I think being honest about like transformations as well. Like, people ask me all the time, what is the time difference between this picture and this picture? I could easily be like, 4 months, but I don't. I say, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is. And so I think just being really transparent, and then going back to the educational piece and saying like, listen, this is why it's going to take a little bit of time, because this is what it's going to do for your hair. And, there's things you can do during that transformation period. Maybe they can get like a halo clip-in piece or something to use when they're out, while still taking care of their scalp and taking care of their hair. So I think I think a lot of hairstylists just try to like make the client happy, and they're going to be happy with an honest answer. And I think it's going to give you a lot more credibility and trust if you're just honest with them. So learning how to explain things in a way that doesn't sound bad, but they're going to trust you for life if you can do that.
You're absolutely right. Where would you say is the best place to get education on hair oil? Because I don't see it a lot. I see a lot of color,
Yeah.
lots of color, and now the cutting is starting to step into the mix. But hair oiling, which is really, really essential to all of those services looking optimal, is lacking in education, I feel.
Absolutely. So I think I definitely try to be a resource for people. So definitely follow our TikTok if you haven't already, but also just doing your own research, like learning what to search up. Obviously, if you're just searching like hair growth tips, like Google is not going to show you the molecular makeup of a product. It's not going to show you hair porosity. It's going to tell you very basic surface level things. And so really kind of just dissecting what hair oiling does based on this conversation and researching each piece individually. So, what nutrients do hair follicles need for hair growth? What oils are best for each porosity? Really just dissecting hair oiling as a whole instead of just Googling hair oiling. Google all the different parts of it and really kind of do a deep dive and do your own research, and look into like each individual part of it instead of just looking at it as a broad topic. Does that make sense?
It does. And so Vitamo, they have education.
Yeah, so we do mostly, so we sell our products on Amazon, but all of our education piece is on our Instagram and on our TikTok. So that's why when we started the Vitamo account, we wanted to make it very educational. We didn't even end up selling the product on that account until like 6 months, because we just really wanted to educate people so that they're understanding why they're buying something and what to look for. And so if you go to our TikTok, you'll see like most of our videos are long form. They're 1 minute, 5 minutes, because we want to actually teach people why they should use a product. And another thing about the Vitamo page that we really strive for is we don't only promote Vitamo products. Like we promote different shampoos and things like that we don't even benefit from, because we just want people to feel like they're learning something when they're coming to our platform.
So Vitamo is a company. You work for the company, or do you have ownership in the company, or do you work for the company?
Yeah, so I do not have ownership. I'm a freelancer, kind of 1099 with the company. Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, so I don't own it.
Okay, perfect. Well, if you did, I was gonna even because you're all over the page doing amazing. So I just wondered. That's always a question.
Yes.
What's one myth about hair oils or hair growth you love to debunk, if you haven't already?
Ooh, that's a good question. One myth about hair oiling. I think that I think a lot of people when they hair oil, they only focus on their scalp and they don't focus on their ends. And I need people to understand that hair growth is in 2 parts: scalp health and end health. Even though your hair is growing from your roots, so of course you need to never neglect your scalp. If your ends are not healthy, they're going to snap off at a faster rate than your hair is going to grow from the scalp. So that's why you could have really healthy hair and you could be doing all the right things to your scalp oiling every week, doing the massages, and your hair could still be stuck at shoulder length because you're neglecting your ends and your ends are snapping off. And so I want you to think about hair oiling as a 2-part system, on your ends and on your scalp. And that's why I always say, look for single ingredient oils that can be used both places, so that you can address both of those things every time you hair oil.
Yes, very good. Love that. And since hair oiling is a personal journey, do you have a special hair ritual routine of your own?
I do, yeah. So every time I wash my hair, it's a process, but I do my scalp massage before I apply anything to my hair. I do that for about 2 to 3 minutes. And then I do something called the inversion method, which literally is just tilting your head upside down. The idea is to bring blood flow to your hair follicles. So I do that for about 2 minutes. And then I apply my Botana oil all over my hair. I bring it on through my ends. I massage my scalp for 5 minutes. I loosely braid my hair. And then I leave that on for about 20 minutes. And then I shampoo. And every time I wash my hair, because I'm only washing twice a week, I use a protein-free moisture mask in the shower because I have low porosity hair and you don't want to use protein. But that is pretty much my routine every time I wash my hair. I don't remember the last time I washed my hair without hair oiling. It's just kind of part of my shower now. But yeah, I always say like, the best advice I can give is I said this earlier, but don't just focus on your scalp. If you're already taking the time to do a scalp oil with botana oil or whatever oil you're using, make sure you're taking care of your ends too and doing a treatment on your ends every time.
Perfect. And why is protein bad for low porosity hair?
So protein has a really big molecular makeup, again, going back to that, but it's just point blank, easily said, it's too heavy for your hair. So protein can actually cause buildup and breakage and damage. There's something called over-proteinizing your hair. If you're adding protein to your hair and it can't absorb it, it's sitting surface level and it's heavy. So it's going to tug at your hair follicles, which can lead to hair loss and hair fall. And it also is going to cause breakage. And so that's why, I also say, going hand in hand with that, that's why keratin treatments in the salon are not good for everybody. You need to make sure that you're only using keratin treatments, if you're a hairstylist, on people that have medium and high porosity, because it can actually cause damage to people with low porosity hair.
Interesting. That's good to know. I'm not sure they really promote that part of it.
No, they don't. And the thing about keratin treatments too, like some people just point blank don't care. Like they just want their hair to be smooth. They don't care if it's going to damage it. So if you have a client like that, then sure, still do it. But if you have a client that is really trying to like experience a transformation and healthy hair, then don't give them a keratin.
No, I love that. Perfect. Because that'll give me food for thought going back into the salon. So that would be why products like Olaplex are not that great, because they kind of had an adverse effect over time on the hair.
Yeah.
It was Olaplex in 2020. And then it was, oh no more Olaplex by 2023. And that was, I think they have a high concentration of protein in all of the products. Is that true?
Yes, that is. And K18 is another product like that as well. And I think, this is kind of a hot take, but I think when products are there's lawsuits for different brands for like hair loss and hair fallout. I don't necessarily, of course, for some people it is the case, but I think sometimes it's not necessarily the product that's making your hair fall out. Like it's not causing your scalp to have a reaction and make you lose all your hair. It's the protein buildup. It's the over-proteinization. It's all of these things that with time, the product will do for your hair. And people start to notice like, oh, well, the only thing I've been using for the past 3 years is Olaplex, and I'm seeing clumps of hair come out in the shower that I've never seen before. It's not the product that took 3 years to make your hair fall out. It's the accumulation of using these ingredients that aren't great for your hair.
Oh, for sure. And it was originally created for perms. So it made sense for that. And also, so if you're a stylist, how do you determine porosity? Is there a method that you would recommend to a new stylist?
Yeah, so there's something that is pretty much like rule of thumb called the float test. And so basically what you do is you take one single hair strand from each side of your head, each quadrant, and then you would drop it into each piece of hair into a separate glass of water with clean filtered water. And you drop the hair strand in, you wait a few minutes, and based on where the hair strand is floating in the cup, that's going to tell you what porosity you have. So if it's floating, you have low. If it's sinking, you have high. And if it's in the middle, you have medium. And so that's the easiest way to determine hair porosity. With time, you usually will be able to look at somebody's hair and kind of tell based on what they're telling you. But if you have no idea, that's the easiest and fastest way to figure it out.
Yes, I've definitely heard of that method before. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
And how has sharing your story on TikTok and working with Vitamo shaped your career after hairdressing? Are you finding great success? It sure sounds like you are.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a lot of knowledge, of course, with hair from beauty school, but also just like self-education I've done. I've always been sort of a science nerd. So I really like to dive into things. Like you can't just tell me like, oh, this is what happens. I have to understand why. Like I really have to do a deep dive into things. And so it was really important for me going into my digital marketing career that I was only partnering with products and brands that I actually stand behind and they actually make sense to me. And so with Vitamo, they were actually one of my very first digital marketing clients. We've been working together for almost 2 years now. But I just really saw a lot of potential in that product. It made sense to me. It was something where I was like, okay, I can teach people about this product because I'm not just saying it works and it smells good. I'm saying this is why it works. This is the science behind it. And so I think from there, because I had the knowledge, because I had the authenticity standing behind the product, I then just had to learn like the marketing piece. And once you learn that, you can apply it in different areas. And so Vitamo has really opened up my eyes to the importance of promoting products that you actually believe in. I think in the salon, a lot of the times your salon will just get a new product line. I know like the salon that I worked at, we would switch our product line like 3 times a year. It was Paul Mitchell's, Redken, it was Colorproof, like it was so many different ones. And it was like, how do you go from telling a client, this is the best product ever? No, just kidding. Now it's Pureology. No, just kidding. Now it's Olaplex. So I think just standing on business with that a little bit and really understanding like ingredients that go into products, why they actually work, what they're actually going to do to the client, that's going to bring long-term success like in anyone's business.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I know they're wondering, how long have you been in hair when you were a hairdresser? How long ago was that?
Let's see. I like 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
4 or 5 years ago. But I was in high school. I was an apprentice. My aunt owned a salon. So in high school, I worked with her. I was doing shampoos, blow dries, helping her with color, things like that. And then, of course, I went to beauty school. I was taking clients on hands-on there. And then I actually did hair behind the chair for about 3.5 years. So,
Okay, perfect. Because I know they're watching this, they'll go, wait a minute, but how long? You didn't ask her.
yeah.
And then we are all now using K18 in the salon. This is lastly,
Yeah.
before I let you jump off. But we're all using K18, and you did mention them as a disruptor. So is that for the same reason, like over too much protein?
Yeah, so K18 is a great product. It works really well for medium and high porosity hair. I tried it on myself. My hair hated it. I have low porosity hair, but I will say I don't know the ingredients in every single product they have. So I would just say check the ingredient label. And if you see that it has a high protein content, if hydrolyzed protein is towards the beginning of the ingredient label, steer away from that for low porosity clients, because with time, especially if they're taking that product home and using it every day, that's not going to be super beneficial for their hair. So I would say, just look at the ingredient label and make sure it makes sense for each client you're taking on.
Yeah, and you're not saying it's a bad product. You're
No.
just saying if you have low porosity hair, it's not beneficial to you.
Because of the protein, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I have a little housekeeping for you guys. I asked her some additional questions off camera that I thought you'd want answers to. One, I asked, why did you leave hairdressing behind the chair? She said, I left hairdressing because I was moving to Florida from Wisconsin and had an idea to pivot to digital marketing so I wouldn't have to rebuild my clientele, but was still able to be in the industry while spreading my knowledge to more people. Number 2, I asked her oil on dry hair or wet hair and why. She says oil on dry hair because water fills the cuticle, which can prevent oil from absorbing properly. And lastly, I asked, for those who may want to give it a try, if you were saying to oil every time you wash your hair, then how do you avoid hair from being too greasy? She said botana oil absorbs so it doesn't sit at the surface level. As long as you're using a small amount and rinsing it after 30 minutes, you shouldn't have an issue with greasiness. If you're using the oil on your ends daily, make sure to only apply to your ends and use a small amount. You can always add more as needed. Okay, back to the show.
All righty, Carly, that was amazing. I mean, we are all informed. And if you're not, then good Lord. That was an amazing explanation of hair oiling. And now I myself understand it better. Hopefully anyone watching does as well. And since I know you have to run, I'm going to get to it. I have 60-second blowout at the end of every episode where I do a rapid fire with you. So are you ready?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. Let me set the timer to 60 seconds. And let's go. Go to emoji.
Ooh, the little like happy one with like the hugs with the hard eyes.
Favorite way to unwind?
Reading.
One word your friends would use to describe you.
Bold.
If you could live in any decade for a year, which one would it be?
80s.
Dream celebrity collab.
Ooh, Joe Jonas, just because I'm obsessed with him and want to connect with him.
Favorite binge watch show.
Ooh, Vanderpump Rules.
One beauty product you can't live without.
Botana oil.
Heels or sneakers.
Heels.
Worst fashion trend you ever tried.
Low-waisted jeans.
Brunch or happy hour.
What was it? Sorry.
Brunch or happy hour.
Ooh, happy hour girl.
If you had a free plane ticket anywhere, where would you go?
Bali.
Best advice you've ever gotten.
Don't take life too seriously.
What's your spirit animal?
Oh, probably a cheetah.
I love that. Yay, you did good.
Thank you.
Those are all very fun. I went to Bali this year for the first time, and my family owns property out there now. So Bali is definitely an amazing place to go.
Oh my gosh, I'm so jealous. That's like been on my bucket list for so long.
Definitely. You will get there someday, I am sure. Thank you for educating us all, Carly. I wish you the very best in your hair oiling journey. Your hair looks amazing. How old is your son, by the way?
He is about to be 2 in 2 weeks.
We will reconnect next time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, bye.
Bye.